Hi, it's Caleb from CDAN Security and Electronics here, and I'm going to be showing you how to set up a Dahua VTO VTH intercom system purely using the VDP config tool. So you can hear there that my VTO is starting up. So first thing we want to do is download Dahua Toolbox and install VDP config. So you can't use regular config tool, that's only really works for cameras, so we need the VDP config tool. And once we open that up, we should see all of our devices here. Just waiting for my last monitor to come up. Okay, so we can start on the VTOs. We can just select them here. I'm doing a 2-to-2 setup in this case, but that covers everything. If you were doing a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-2, it would be the same process, you just wouldn't add the subs. So if we select both of our VTOs and come down to initialize here, give it a password. And if you check this box, you can enter an email address for your password reset. That's always a good idea. But in this case, it's just a demo, so I won't. Now here you'll see you do get 2 errors, but it does say device initialization succeeded. So we can just go complete. You can see that's come up now. So now we'll just move one of these VTOs. We hit the IP modification button. But to do that first, we'll have to set the correct password in the search settings here. So admin123 in my case. Always choose a secure password. So I will choose, if you had multiple, you could actually select both and choose the modify IP bottom down the bottom there, and then you can put in your start IP. We'll start at 108. So that means it's going to allocate, because I've got 2 devices, one at 108 and one at 109. Okay, so now those are moved. We can initialize this first monitor. This password has to be numeric only. And again, you can set an email address for your password reset. I'm going to put this one at 110. Oh, search setting. We now have to modify that password because we're editing a different device. Now a bit of troubleshooting here. I've actually got 2 monitors connected, but only one is showing up. So I'll just check over the serial number. FF is the one I have online, and I'll check my monitors. Okay, so I identified which monitor is online. And now I'm just going to take the one that isn't online, unplug it, and I'm going to swap out the patch lead, just to rule out it being a patch lead issue. Okay, I've got the other monitor plugged back in using a new lead, so we'll give that a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to start setting up my first VTO. So to do that, we can just go to the IP address, either in Edge or Internet Explorer. I'm going to use Edge. Internet Explorer is recommended. There we go, you can see it had a cached website in before. I knew it wasn't right because I'm looking for the new SIP 2.0 looking interface, so I just hit refresh. Sometimes you will have to clear your browser to get to the right page. Okay. Now that we're in here, I'm just going to take a quick look through all the settings. Here I'm going to enable NTP just to make sure everything's in sync, and I'll sync it with the PC just to jump it a bit. You can see under room numbers we have by default Dahua's list filled in, which is 9901 #0 through to 9901 #9. We're going to use these defaults just to make it a bit easier. All our settings are correct here. And on SIP server, on the main VTO, which would be our master, we want to have SIP server enable. Now what this means is that SIP server will be hosted on this device. If I disable the SIP server here and enter SIP server details down here, it'll actually connect to that SIP server. But this SIP server enable doesn't say that it's disabling its ability to connect to a SIP server, but it's disabling the fact that it's hosting its own SIP server. So that's good as it is currently. I'm just switching the ports on my switch for that other monitor because it still doesn't come up. Okay, now that I've set up that VTO, I'm going to go to 109 to set up the second VTO. Now in this VTO, the first thing we want to do is go to network, because it's going to be a sub VTO. It's not going to be hosting its own server, so we'll disable that. And we will point it at the SIP server for the master VTO. So that's the IP of the master VTO. Port 5060 can stay the same. This password can be default, which is actually 123456. SIP domain is always going to be VDP. Username admin, and the SIP server password will be the password of the master VTO. Now that I've saved that, that'll reboot. Cool. So it was actually the port on my switch. Easy troubleshooting. I'll initialize this one now. Disable the email address field. Now monitors will ask you to set a language and reboot, so we'll choose English. Complete. Okay, in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that to start up, I'm going to start configuring this monitor here. So that's a 110. So it's refresh and the other one should go away. Yeah, 110. So coming down to the last option on the left here, and to single point, we can actually choose our VTH, enter the username and the password, which will be the numeric one. And you can see we can configure all the VTH settings from a single point, being the laptop, rather than walking across to every monitor. So first thing is point our SIP server settings for the monitor at the master door station. So our SIP realm is going to be VDP, register passwords default. This IP should be the IP of the master door station. And the master door station username and password there. And we'll do the same in the VTO settings. And we can hit the enable status button. And we can come down to slave VTO as well. And I'll call this one sub. And enable status on that one as well. Now I can save that, and we've successfully configured one of our monitors. Now you can see there's an IP conflict again, so I'm going to move this one to 111. I can drag this to the side and double check that I don't have anything already on that, which I don't. That's now at 111. So we'll come in and configure that monitor. Now this monitor here we want to set as a sub. We want to point the monitor at the master, which is at 110, and enter the password. All the other information here we don't actually have to worry about, because as soon as we set this as a sub, it will automatically grab all the VTO and subserver information. So I'm going to set this one as 9901 hash 1 in accordance with Dahua's defaults. So that's saved. And I'll come back into this one and set it as 9901 hash 0. It's always a good idea just to have a quick check through and make sure that your settings did push to the monitors. Okay, coming back to our sub VTO. We can now go into local settings, and this box that was previously grayed out before we disabled SIP server is now available to change, so we'll set it as 8002. Now we'll go to our main. Once we're in here, we can go to household setting, add the sub VTO into the main, register password again as default, and enter the username and password there. Now this status page shows that 9901 hash 1 and hash 0 are online, 8001 is online, so we've got both of our monitors connected, and we're just waiting for the second VTO to come through. So we can keep tabbing between these pages, and it should refresh, but sometimes that can take a while. So what I normally do is come into device management here, enter the right password for the VTOs. You can actually just hit the VTO box and it'll automatically select both. I'll reboot those. And it's usually a good idea just to do a system-wide reboot when you're done setting it up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8s for the VTHs. And we'll reboot those as well. Oh, and we've got an error there. Manual reboot connection failed. So let's just double check. And it worked. Okay, everything's just booted up again, and I've just refreshed the page, gone back into status, and now you can see the 8002, which is our sub VTO, is now showing online. 8001, our main VTO, which we are on, is obviously online, and both monitors are online there. So now we can change the call number. If you leave it as 9901, it will actually call both monitors, so that's fine. And we'll just give it a quick test in both directions. So I'll hit the call button on one VTO.
Calling now. Please wait a moment.
And it rings on both.
The line is busy.
And I end that. Double check the calling on the other monitor.
Calling now. Please wait a moment. The line is busy.
Sorry, that was on the other VTO. And now I'll double check that the monitors can view the camera on the VTO. Now it looks like our main monitor can view both VTOs, but on our sub monitor, if I click the monitor button, there are no door stations yet. So what we'll do just to confirm those settings is refresh the page so we get all the devices again. Come down to single point. The one we're having issues with is 111. Just log in again and double check the details here. So you can see, although it has pushed it, it hasn't enabled the status. So there's our issue. We just go in, enable those, save, come back in on the monitor, and straight away both have come up. So that was a 2 to 2 setup. If you were doing 2 to 1 or 1 to 2, it would be the exact same process. You just wouldn't be setting either a sub VTH or a sub VTO.